So, to be honest, maybe like you, I'm not especially motivated or strong-willed, and this has seriously hurt my finances in the past. And in fact, fun fact, I went broke, like flat broke, 2 separate times before I actually started really saving any money. And when I say broke, it was like really dumb ways of doing that, not like can't pay your rent or something. Now, over time, I realized that trying to change my behavior or my nature is the wrong way to approach it, and that is why I wasn't hitting my financial goals and why I was overspending and not budgeting appropriately. So I started using my own brain for me instead of my brain being used against me. Basically, I flipped the script on my finances. I started working harder, I was more motivated, and I ultimately earned, saved, and invested more. And that actually being motivated and happy part throughout of all of that is honestly the most important portion. So this whole video is that 6-step system to achieve your financial goals the easy way, and again, by using your brain for you instead of your brain as the whole modern world is set up to do, being used against you. Now, before we continue, this video is brought to you on behalf of the NAGA Group, or NAGA, a publicly traded company on the XETRA German stock exchange under n4g.de, and they are a leading fintech firm in Europe. Now, NAGA is quietly building something that could reshape how millions of people invest, trade, and manage money, and I want to share their story with you and the implications for the wider space. So the problem is fundamentally that traditional finance is fragmented. You need all kinds of separate apps for banking, investing, trading, and payments, and each app has its own accounts and interface and requirements. And even with innovation over the past decade, most platforms struggle because they're either just brokerages with social features tacked on, or payment apps trying to do investing almost as an afterthought. And you know this, users want seamless integration, but the industry hasn't delivered. And that is where NAGA comes in. See, what they call NAGA 1 is the missing link. It's a way to unify financial services like a true super app. And this eliminates the fragmentation problem of traditional fintech and replaces it with a seamless AI-powered ecosystem. Like so, NAGA's unified platform is a financial intelligence system that connects payments, trading, investing, and crypto services using embedded AI across the entire experience. Now, this lets NAGA deliver real-time market insights, personalized investing strategies, and social trading capabilities where users can copy successful investors. In this way, NAGA is bridging next-gen fintech with proven revenue models, and that is a huge advantage in a market worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Now, there's a lot of news recently about their AI expansion, and you can see some of that on the screen here. But biggest of all, NAGA is pioneering the NAGA 1 super app launching in Q4 2025, so just around the corner, which again merges payment, investing, and trading, featuring IBAN accounts, debit cards, instant trading, and a planned trading super assistant by 2026 that can help retail investors make investment decisions. Now, all of this means that investors should pay attention because NAGA is delivering results with strong fundamentals in a massive space. They reported H1 2025 revenues of 32.2 million euros, EBITDA up 8% despite increased marketing spend, and they're achieving this through cost synergies and their one brand strategy. They have real traction with paying users, proprietary technology, which includes their own NAGA coin utility token, and they're executing on a clear roadmap with AI at its core. So all in all, in summary, AI and super apps aren't just enhancing fintech, they are completely transforming it for retail investors like you and me. And NAGA is one of the only European fintechs actually executing on AI-driven financial services at scale, and big players in both traditional finance and crypto are watching, and investors should too. And that said, back to the video. So step number 1, most important, physically change your environment. So at a certain point, regardless of what you do, if you are in the same environment, you are going to act in the same way. The way I think about this is we're all rats in a maze. We may not realize it, but the way that we act and our behavior is nearly completely determined by our environment. As a very easy example, if you're trying to lose weight and there's fast food and candy and all this awesome tasting stuff everywhere you look, maybe 1 in a million, maybe David Goggins will lose weight. For the rest of us, for the 99,999 out of every 100,000, you're going to fail if you just commit and say, I'm not going to eat any food. Now, as an extreme example, if you took that same person and you stuck them in prison, we'll tell you what, they're gonna lose weight. Why? Nothing about them changed. Nothing about their motivation or their willpower changed, but their environment changed. And the funny thing is, it doesn't take that much willpower or motivation to change your environment. For example, booking a plane ticket somewhere, and that's because our brain doesn't recognize future suffering. So even if we change our environment now in a way which may disturb us, it's not going to be a hard thing to do now. It may just feel hard later, but by that point, we have no choice. Our brain has no choice because it's in a different environment. So step number one, change your environment to be conducive to whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whether that's earning more or losing weight. I don't care, this video is about money, but really just whatever you want to do. So step number two, I remove access. So what I'm assuming here, again, is that my brain is going to be the enemy in the future. And if we're talking about something like spending, the problem is not most of the time, it's occasionally when maybe you really want something and you just decide to buy it even if you can't afford it. But again, right now, it doesn't take a lot of willpower to just remove access. So in that future moment, there is nothing to give in to because you just can't, for example, access the money necessary to buy the thing. So a really common way to do this is just to put money in a savings or a brokerage account where it takes at least a few days to withdraw money to get it into your actual checking account. That way, if you try and spend something in a financial sense, well, you have to actually wait for a few days. You have a few days to think about it and to process it before you can just impulse make that purchase. And that applies to everything, again, whether money, business, entrepreneurship, health, etc. Now, number three, I connect the thing I want to emotion. Your brain fundamentally cares about pain, status, and reproduction. Like at the end of the day, in terms of like willpower or motivation, you probably got that or you convince yourself to have it now because of one or multiple of those things on some level. And normal life makes you fight against these things. For example, going and working out is more pain. Going and starting a business is more pain. And putting yourself out there doing something cringy might hurt your social status. But what if you flipped that script and suddenly you're going to lose more status, you're going to be in more pain, you're going to have less access to reproduction if you don't achieve the goal that you want to achieve. Now, there are a million ways to do this, and I want you after this or pause this video, I don't care, go and think about how this applies to you, but I'll give you one very material example from my life. So back in my TikTok days, I wanted to post regularly on TikTok, but I was having trouble finding the time and the motivation to do that. So what I did is I went and I posted a video saying, hey, I'm going to do this thing, this challenge for the next 30 days, and I'm going to post a video a day. So in that case, I had hundreds of thousands of people that watched those first few videos and were expecting me to keep putting out a video a day. So then when that challenge started, when it came down to it, yeah, maybe it was painful for my brain in the moment to work out or to film all the clips or to edit the video, but the social pain, the fear of all the people in the comments saying, hey, you failed, you're a failure, how could you fail that? Whether they would actually do that or not, that kind of social fear really worked in my favor there. And that is in fact what drives a lot of entrepreneurs, for better or worse, to do what they end up doing. And so you don't have to go so extreme with this, or maybe you want to go extreme with this. For whatever way, just think about, again, how to make the core drivers of your brain, of your biology, reproduction, status, and pain aversion work for you instead of against you. Number four, I gamify boring progress. So basically, we all know this, the brain is a dopamine machine. It wants dopamine. It wants to avoid, again, things like pain, which are not very dopaminergic. I hope dopaminergic is a word. That's a mouthful. So just think about, in whatever way possible, to get more dopamine, to inject more dopamine artificially into the things that you care about doing. I don't care how small or how big this is. The thing is, it has to be attached to something real. The dopamine has to be attached to something which actually matters. For example, you don't want to attach all the dopamine in the world to watching videos or reading books or courses that teach you, for example, how to start a business. If the thing you're going after is actually starting the business, the dopamine has to be attached to actually starting the business. And part of that is how you set the goals. For example, if you set your goal as, hey, I want to make $100,000 online, that is a really difficult thing to do. But if your goal is instead, I want to sell my first product, and then I want to sell $1,000, and maybe then I'll think about $100,000 or just $10,000, $50,000. There are all these incremental goals that can deliver so much dopamine. There's all kinds of apps for this. There's so much you can do to just make that stuff more fun. Maybe find a friend and agree when you hit this goal, and it can be a little goal. It doesn't have to be a massive, just all-consuming goal. You're gonna go out for dinner, you're gonna do something you enjoy, something silly, I don't care, and then you're gonna get back to work to hit the next one. Whatever you can do, as a rule, inject dopamine. Now, step number 5, this ties back to the TikTok example I gave, but I make claims publicly that I must live up to in private. Now look, maybe I would do those things in private anyway, but the thing is, based on how the brain works, if I make those claims in public, we care so much about what other people think of us. And specifically when something is public, when there is that fear and that draw of what other people think of us as a driver, that unlocks this level of motivation and willpower that might be more short-term than something like changing your environment, but all the same, in a lot of situations can be really powerful. And in public doesn't mean you have to have 100,000 followers on social media. Going public can be to your partner, to your friends, to your parents, to a community of yours, just to any person or group of people whose opinion you care about. We all know this intrinsically works, but very few people make it explicit to the things they actually care about in their lives. Now, number 6, the final rule here is specifically related to finance, and that is I focus on earning more versus spending less. The brain likes more due to dopamine, due to these things that we're talking about, and mathematically focusing on earning more is nearly always going to be the better approach. So if I focus much more on earning more, on scaling up, on things which excite me as opposed to things like spending less, at the end of the day, and I say this as a personal finance 60-40 kind of guy, if you just earn no money and you can't save any money to invest it, you're not going to become really wealthy. You become wealthy by actually earning more or by building equity. And the thing is, that's actually more fun. What's more fun if I told you, hey, you can save an extra $500 this month, you can cut corners, you're gonna get a promotion next year, and then you can have an extra $800 to invest. Or, okay, lock in, we're gonna get you a promotion, you're gonna start a freelancing gig, you're gonna start a business, we're going to get more into investments, and we're going to earn, we're going to make more, we're gonna work harder. That's just much more appealing as a mode of being. And people talk about like abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. To me, it just comes down to how the brain works and then mathematically what is the more sound approach if you actually stick with it. Okay, that was a lot. Here in summary are those 6 rules one more time. I physically change my environment, I remove access, I connect things to emotion, I gamify boring progress, I make public claims that I must live up to, and finally, I focus on more versus less. Genuinely, I think that system will help you so much if you implement it on a very specific vertical or something that you're going after. It's just science, it's biology, that's how humans work. And what I would just urge you is to be careful with how you use this. It's powerful enough that implementing these things in the wrong way can be really damaging for a whole lot of reasons. And this is like the workaholic trope, and there's a time and a season for that, 100%. But just be careful how you structure your life and think about it holistically before you change everything in a way, maybe following the system, maybe not, that is going to drastically change your life. That said, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.